The Winnipeg Jets continue to roll, but are they Stanley Cup favorites? And are the Lightning and Bruins locks to make the playoffs? Hey, everyone. Welcome to Off the Post. Rob Wong, joined alongside by Steve Simmons, Bruce Garriock, and Patrick Johnston. And guys, who would have thought that this year's Winnipeg Jets would have gotten off to the best start in NHL history, 14-1 to begin the year? As we stand right now, Steve, would you take the Jets in a Stanley Cup final series right now, or are you taking the field?
I am taking the field. By the way, Rob, last time I checked, it's November. And there's a long way to go to June. And not only that, the history of the best team in the NHL winning the Stanley Cup, or the team with the most points in the NHL winning the Stanley Cup, not very good. One team in the last 16 years has won the President's Trophy and has won the Stanley Cup. And guess what? That year, the Chicago Blackhawks won the Cup, and they didn't play a full season. It was one of those shortened seasons. So no team in an 82-game season in the last 16 years has won the President's Trophy and won the Stanley Cup. So I think I'm going to hold off just a little bit before giving my trophy and presenting it to the Winnipeg Jets.
I think, and don't hold me to this, but didn't they beat an Ottawa Senators record for one of the best starts in league history? Yeah, and I think that year, if I'm not mistaken, they were comparing the Ottawa Senators that year to the 1972 or 73 Montreal Canadiens, one of the greatest teams in history. That was under John Paddock, and then I think he for sure got fired in 2018. And if I am not mistaken, they missed the playoffs after that start. So I'm not quite ready to crown the Jets as the champions of the world. I do think they are for real. But I would like to see, Patrick, I'd like to see how they handle some adversity, because at some point or another, they're going to lose 4 or 5 in a row, or they might or Connor Hellebuyck might get injured or something. Something's going to happen to throw them off the rails, and it's how they react to that. So I too am picking the field, mainly because I've got Montreal's not going to make it. I got about 25 to 28 other teams to choose from at this juncture.
Listen, the Jets are a great story. You know, Connor Hellebuyck, year in, year out, has been one of, if not the best goalie in hockey. They've got some fantastically fun players up front, not just Nikolai Ehlers, but, Kyle Connor's a guy that doesn't get discussed enough. Cole Perfetti is having a great breakout season. Nino Niederreiter has been a fantastic player. But, yeah, it's November. Let's slow down. Let's calm down. They are going to be a quality team. They are generally a quality team. Kevin Cheveldayoff has done a really nice job resetting this lineup. But there are teams that are deeper and stronger and have a better blue line than the Winnipeg Jets. And they certainly will be involved in the playoffs. They will be a strong team in the playoffs. But let's calm down.
It's that the Stanley Cup final is starting tomorrow. Remember what Paul Maurice said when Florida got the cup? Next year, I hope that if we don't win, Winnipeg does. So what might happen this year is it might be the Florida Panthers, defending Stanley Cup champions, against the Winnipeg Jets in a Stanley Cup final. So you got Hellebuyck on one side and you got Bobrovsky on the other side. Who's the better goalie in the playoffs? Who knows? You look at the two defenses, both of them lacking a little bit. I'll call that a push. Now go up front. Winnipeg's got to deal with Barkov and Bennett. They don't have an answer for either of those. I'll take the Florida Panthers 9 out of 10 times. And I like this Winnipeg Jets team, but I like the Panthers a little bit more.
Rob, and I'll take you for having to recover from that question.
Well, look, as you guys have astutely pointed out, it is November, but that's just kind of where we're at right now with the state of the
blame
NHL.
The question maker.
Do not ever blame the question maker. But look, you guys have all made a lot of good points, and unfortunately, we've lost a lot of viewers from the province of Manitoba after your answers for that question. Meanwhile, the Atlantic Division, as Steve talked about, the Florida Panthers are ruling the roost right now. And you look at the 4 teams that have historically, over the last half decade or so, made the playoffs pretty much every year. It's Florida, Toronto, Boston, and Tampa. But right now, those latter 2, Bruce, not looking so hot. If you were to pick only one of those 2 teams right now to make the postseason, who would you go with?
Probably recency bias on my part, but I having watched Boston Bruins Saturday night, something's not right there. Something's not working, and it almost seems to me that they finally hit the point where the Bruins are maybe what people thought they would be for the last 4 or 5 years, when they overcame the odds and they always seem to push for a spot and they always seem to be in the hunt, Rob. But right now, I don't see that in them. I think that they're kind of like a lot of teams in that Atlantic division that is lacking consistency. And if the reason I pick Boston is if you told me to pick a goaltender between Vasilevsky and Swayman, I'd take Vasilevsky every day. And that's why I think Tampa will hold serve, certainly in that place. And I just think Boston, to me, they look like they're in a lot of trouble. They look disjointed. They didn't have a shot in the third period against Ottawa.
You look at those signings they made in the offseason. Obviously, 2 of them were very notable: former Vancouver Canucks and Nikita Zadorov and Elias Lindholm. And both signings, listen, I liked both players. I thought they were both handy players for the Canucks in the playoffs, but they just felt like the wrong direction for this team. Nikita Zadorov has the second most total ice time on the Boston Bruins right now. And listen, he's a fun player. He's an exciting player, but he shouldn't be playing that much. Lindholm, big signing, isn't playing, he's playing sort of third line minutes. Like, there's a guy, like, that's a lot of money to invest in a guy that is not playing on your top 2 lines. The setup is wrong. The roster is wrong. And as Bruce said, we saw them the other night. They're not playing very well at all, and that's not an outlier. They've been very poor on this season. They're not playing well defensively, and they're just not creating enough offensively either.
When you put on the New York Yankees uniform in baseball, it doesn't matter what team you played for before. When you put on the New York Yankees uniform, you tend to play better once you get that uniform on you. And for years and years and years, if you wore that Boston Bruins uniform, that meant something. That meant that you played a little bit harder than everybody else, that you played a little bit stronger than everybody else. And for years and years and years, this team has punched above its weight. Well, they lose Zdeno Chara, who's going to the Hall of Fame, I think, next year. And they lose Patrice Bergeron, who's going to the Hall of Fame to retirement, like Chara. They lose David Krejci, a very good upper echelon NHL player. They lose Tuukka Rask, borderline Hall of Fame goaltender. After a while, you can't keep losing that quality of guy and think, oh, we're going to move the next Geeky or somebody in to be the next guy. Well, some of those guys can't be the next guy. Coyle can't be the next guy. This is a team that suddenly, after a long time of playing way above its head, isn't anymore. And Bruce is right. They look like a team where something's wrong. And I think this is the first year that we can say that in a very, very long time. And I don't know how you correct that once it starts to go the other way, because they don't have enough upper echelon guys after Pasternak and an old Marchand and McAvoy in the back end. Like, there aren't a lot of what I would call A hockey players on that team. And I don't know who's going to bring them back from the dead, because they sure look like they're heading in the other direction.
Yeah, really tough spot right now for the Bruins with the way they're going, but we'll see if they're able to turn things around. As always, leave your thoughts in the comment section below, even if you are from Winnipeg and you heard everything we had to say about your hockey team today. For Bruce Garriock, Steve Simmons, and Patrick Johnston, I'm Rob Wong. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you next time.